Well, Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi is urgently seeking a divorce from sister department, Public Works, the State Information Technology Agency, SITA, and the company formerly known as BOSASA. Motsoaledi says the relationship with Public Works, which Home Affairs relies on for a number of its offices, has become dysfunctional. Well, to tell us more about this, I'm joined by Home Affairs Acting Director Thulani Mavuso. Thulani, a very good evening. That's Acting Director General. Yes, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for coming through. So if you can briefly tell us how each of these departments is hindering the work of your department.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to the viewers. Just to put this into context, is that last week we appeared in Parliament to present our 18-19 annual report. As part of responding to some of the issues raised by members of Parliament around the performance of the department, around our inability, for an example, to expand our offices that do live capture system for the smart card. We're sitting at 193 offices, while our footprint is sitting at 412 offices. So we are very far in terms of ensuring that we are fully, automated all our offices. So one of the reasons is the physical infrastructure, where we count some of the offices as offices, but when you look at it in terms of the physical infrastructure, does not actually meet the needs for us to be able to install the modernized system in those offices. So the Department of Home Affairs, obviously, when we procure physical infrastructure, these are offices. Obviously, we utilize the Public Works because they are responsible for property of government. And also, there are certain services also that are provided for by the Department of Public Works. For an example, the Minister made an example of an outage we had at our back office, that is an engine room, really, where there was power that was switched off by the city of Tshwane because of a dispute between themselves and Public Works. So our view is that some of the services like those, we need to pay them directly, because basically it ends up coming from our budget, because Public Works will pay it and claim from the Department of Home Affairs. Obviously, there were certain decisions that were made in the past on how government must organize itself. We, for example, work through, when we do litigations, through state attorneys, when we do infrastructure through Public Works, when we want to acquire certain technological services, the SITA Act provides for mandatory services that we must get through SITA. So all those create dependencies for us moving forward.
So how will you function without them? How would you fix all of these things? Or how would it work better? What would you do on your own?
There are two things that I think we need to be able to understand. Firstly, when it comes to Public Works, we want to be able to say that if we need to pay certain services that are municipality related, we need to be responsible directly for those. Secondly, is that we need permanent infrastructure, because we do not want to have a situation where we're moving our offices. Home Affairs will be here for the next 100 years. So our view is that you do need, like police stations, like schools, like clinics, you need permanent infrastructure. We do in certain areas, for example, where it's government-owned buildings, so we're not moving in those offices. We're quite happy with those. Obviously, there's maintenance issues that you also need to deal with in that regard, because when you go to a Home Affairs office, the toilet is not working, the floor is dirty, the walls are dirty. You're not going to look at Public Works, because as a property, so this is where we want to come in to say that, yes, obviously there are certain division of responsibilities in government, but I think we do believe that there are certain essential things that we should be able to have it within our wing, so that we can be able to take responsibility, also account to the public why infrastructure looks like that.
So very quickly for us, so while we're still on that subject there, where are you in the divorce process?
Well, there's been correspondence between our Minister and the Minister of Public Works, where Minister raised a concern about that particular issue. So we're still going to be discussing, obviously, some of these issues with Public Works to determine, which responsibilities can fall, within our responsibility, which responsibility that will still fall under them. So there's those nitty-gritties have not been ironed out. But I think, as I said, this was in response to some of the questions that were raised in the Portfolio Committee as we were presenting our annual report last week.
And while I have you here, just a very quick one. I can't let you go without asking you about the unabridged birth certificate requirements that are this week expected to be completely scrapped for foreigners. Just, explain to us, just after all of this time and all of the fuss, just now having to make this move, and many people who went through this and the trauma of having it done at the time, just the reasoning behind this for those who are not aware, and how this will make things easier and better.
Yeah, let me just again put this thing into context, is that for South Africans, The Children's Act is quite clear about the issue of the removal of a child from the Republic. You need to have consent of both parents if both parents are appearing in the unabridged birth certificate. If there's only one parent, that mother does not need the consent of everyone, because at the time when the child was born, it means that paternity was not acknowledged. Therefore, there's just one parent that appears, so you need no consent from anyone. But when it comes to children that are coming from abroad, there's been a lot of discussions. Obviously, we've been talking with our sister department, the Department of Tourism, the Tourism Business Council. We've been discussing some of these issues and the perception that is created abroad. Now, we are obviously working towards ensuring that we eradicate that. That's going to be eradicated. That's a very clear message from our minister. The only problem that we need to deal with is that from the neighboring countries, it's easy for people coming, landing by plane at Tambo as tourists and things like that, but you still have a problem of your neighboring countries where people actually move children from Lesotho, from Zimbabwe, and traffic them into the country. Obviously, we've agreed with the minister that with the Minister of Police, we need to devise a different mechanism to counter the issue of child trafficking, but obviously not utilize this particular instrument in order for us to be able to get as much as possible from abroad for the purposes of bringing people for tourism.
Okay, thanks very much for that explanation. Thank you very much. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on this divorce from the other departments.